Astra Ravel preferred the back row of every room, especially the Academy's tactical amphitheater. From there, she could disappear while the louder cadets filled the air with speculation and bravado. Today was no different. She slipped into her seat as the semicircle of elevated platforms hummed to life, casting a pale blue sheen across rows of crisp uniforms. "Morning briefing begins in 2 minutes," the holoscreen chimed. Cadets straightened. Astra didn't. She simply folded her hands and fixed her gaze on the transparent floor where a tactical map simmered beneath them, lines of ancient battles flickering like ghosts. Instructor Rowe entered with a brisk stride, coat flicking behind him. His cybernetic eye pulsed once as it connected to the display. "Today we cover the unlisted engagements of the Centauri front. The war most of you think you understand but don't." A few students leaned forward. Some smirked. Astra remained still as stone. Rowe keyed a sequence on his slate. "You'll analyze field maneuvers, unit efficiency, and what the hell?" His brow creased. A corrupted archive icon blinked in the corner of the screen. He tapped again. The icon expanded. This wasn't in the rotation. A warning flashed, access restricted, command level only. "Sir?" a cadet asked. Rowe hesitated, jaw tight. "It shouldn't be here. Must have synced from the vault's temporary streams." He tried to close it, but the file opened anyway. Astra's pulse stuttered. A grainy battlefield blossomed in the air above the class, ashen terrain, jagged metal husks, and drifting fog laced with plasma embers. A Dominion insignia glared across a shattered bunker wall. Gasps rippled through the cadets. "Is this a simulation?" someone whispered. Rowe didn't answer. The video stabilized, revealing 4 KRYL shock troopers advancing in formation, armored bodies glinting under ultraviolet light. They moved like predatory machines, precise, silent, lethal. Their mandible plates clicked as they surveyed the wreckage. Then a lone figure stepped from the smoke. Human. Armor matte black, visor opaque, exosuit thrumming with barely contained power. The soldier's silhouette was sharp, confident, impossibly calm amid carnage. Astra gripped the edge of her seat, breath held tight. The cadets murmured, awestruck. "Which unit is that? Why isn't the armor tagged? What operation was this?" The figure didn't speak. They simply moved. One heartbeat, the soldier blurred into motion. A single leap closed the distance. A blade extended from the gauntlet. The first shock trooper fell before it registered the strike. The second raised its rifle. The soldier pivoted, drove an elbow into its thorax, and sent it crashing through a burned-out crawler. Rowe froze, unable to look away. The third and fourth aliens launched coordinated attacks. The soldier slid beneath one swipe, wrenched an energy lance from its grip, and hurled it with perfect precision. The last trooper fired a plasma burst, but the soldier deflected the shot with a wrist shield, then surged forward and drove a boot into its throat. The battlefield fell quiet. Astra felt every motion echo in her muscles, as if her body remembered a rhythm it hadn't rehearsed in years. The visor in the recording flickered. A faint reflection surfaced, a pair of human eyes, fierce and focused. Not eyes. Her eyes. A hollow ache tightened in her chest. The classroom erupted. "What kind of soldier moves like that? That wasn't a standard exosuit. There's no record of this mission." Rose silenced them with a raised hand. His voice trembled. This footage is from Operation Ashfall." Astra flinched. "Sir," a cadet said, "Ashfall never happened. It's just a rumor." Rose stared at the paused image of the masked fighter. "Some battles were erased." Astra rose quietly. She needed to leave before her expression betrayed her. Before someone recognized the impossible familiarity in the recording. Rowe noticed. "Cadet Ravel, sit." "I'm feeling unwell, sir." The lights dimmed as he replayed the clip, looping the moment the soldier destroyed the squad. Students debated tactics and equipment. None looked at Astra, and yet she felt exposed under every glance. She slipped out the door and stepped into the corridor where the hum of the station's spine vibrated through her boots. The metal walls glowed faintly under orange maintenance lights, guiding the flow of cadets between training wings. She pressed a hand to her temple. Old memories stirred, heat, screams, fractured orders, buried fragments clawing upward. She steadied herself against the wall. A notification blinked on her wrist console. Incoming system alert. She opened it. Unauthorized archive broadcast detected. Source: Terran Frontier Academy. Dominion Sensor Network. Unusual receipt confirmed. Astra's heart dropped. The file hadn't just played for the class. It had echoed across secure channels, briefly visible to external monitors before encryption cut off. Which meant someone else had seen it. Someone who had been hunting the ghost of Operation Ashfall for years. A cold, metallic voice reverberated from a distant system. Astra didn't hear it, but she felt it, like a pressure tightening in the air. Far across the frontier, Commander Varkostri opened his own notification feed, mandibles flexing with satisfaction. The replayed footage cast a blue light across his war chamber. "Finally," he murmured. "The human who erased my strike team lives." He tapped a command. Dominion glyphs pulsed around him. Deploy trackers. Set course for Arcadius 4. The hunt resumes. Back in the corridor, Astra straightened, breathing steady but shallow. She had spent years burying that night, suppressing every instinct, silencing every reflex. She had built her life on a single vow: no one would ever see her fight again. But now the galaxy knew a ghost still walked. A cluster of cadets passed by, oblivious to the storm gathering beyond the station's hull. Their laughter felt distant, unreal. Astra turned toward the nearest window. Beyond the glass, Arcadius 4 glimmered like a blue coin suspended in darkness. Peaceful. Blissfully unaware. She whispered to herself, not as a cadet, but as the survivor the Dominion wanted dead. "It's starting again." The Academy's intercom chimed. "Cadet Ravel, report to Tactical Command. Immediate." Of course. The investigation had begun. She squared her shoulders, forced her expression into its usual calm, and walked toward the lift. The doors slid shut with a soft hiss. Her reflection stared back. Ordinary uniform, controlled posture, no hint of the soldier she once was. But the eyes were the same as the ones in the recording. And someone else, light years away, had recognized them. Astra closed her eyes as the lift descended. The past she tried to bury had clawed its way into the present. And whatever came next, hiding would no longer be enough. Not with the Dominion closing in. Not with the Academy about to confront the truth. And not with Varkostri coming for her. Astra stepped into Tactical Command with the posture of someone ready to be scrutinized. The room's circular chamber glowed with layers of hollow screens, each scrolling data that felt heavier than the air itself. Officers stood around the central table, their faces a blend of confusion, irritation, and carefully concealed fear. The door shut behind her, sealing off the corridor's noise. Commander Hale, stern jaw, silver temples, eyes sharp as rifle sights, gestured her forward. "Cadet Ravel, stand at attention." Astra obeyed. Her heartbeat stayed calm, though a subtle tremor brushed her fingertips. She clasped them behind her back. Hale projected the paused Ashfall recording above the table. The masked warrior hung mid-motion, momentum frozen in the instant before a strike. "Do you know this soldier?" Hale asked. "No, sir." "Do you recognize the technique?" "No, sir." "Then explain why you left class the moment this footage played." "My implant malfunctioned," she replied. "I felt dizzy." Partly true, but not enough to satisfy him. Hale studied her expression for any crack. "We've sent the file back to the vault for verification. If it's genuine, it predates your Academy enlistment by several years." Astra kept her breathing controlled. He wasn't wrong. She had been 15 when Ashfall happened. Hale continued, "This mission doesn't appear anywhere in the official Centauri records. Someone deleted it deliberately." Other officers murmured. Astra remained silent. "We'll need access to your implant logs," Hale said, "to rule out data interference or foreign contact." That tightened her spine. The implant held encrypted memories she couldn't risk revealing. "Sir," she replied, "the logs may be corrupted. It's been unstable for months. So we've been informed," Hale said. "Still, the request stands. A technician will meet you in the medical wing in an hour." His voice softened a fraction. "We're not accusing you, Cadet. But this footage is a security breach. We need answers." "Yes, sir." He dismissed her with a nod. She left without hesitation, though her chest felt tight. The halls buzzed louder than before. News spread in minutes across the academy. By now, everyone had seen the leaked clip. Conversations quieted whenever she passed. Eyes lingered longer than yesterday. She navigated the main arcade, the wide glass corridor looking down into the station's training arena. Cadets sparred in simulated gravity pockets, their movements clumsy compared to those in the recording. She forced herself not to evaluate their footwork. She had spent years silencing the instinct to analyze every stance and strike. 2 cadets blocked her path, Mira, tall and sharp-tongued, and Ren, always suspicious of anything he couldn't understand. Mira crossed her arms. "Ravel, question for you." Astra kept her voice flat. "I'm on my way to medical. This won't take long," Mira said. "You were the first to leave the lecture." Ro looked shaken. "You looked worse. That recording, something about it bothered you." Astra gestured to the side. "If you'd move." Ren leaned in. "You fight too clean for someone who claims to be average. I've seen you in drills. You read moves before they happen. You're imagining it." He shook his head. "No. I think you know more than you're saying." Jalen appeared from behind them, face tense. "Back off. Astra said she's heading to medical." He stepped between her and the others. "This isn't an interrogation." Mira rolled her eyes, but she and Ren eventually moved aside. Astra walked away without a word. Jalen caught up. "You okay?" "Yes." "You're lying." They turned into a quieter corridor. Astra didn't slow. "Everyone's looking for patterns where there aren't any." Jalen huffed. "I've known you for a year. You avoid attention like it's lethal. But last night in the drone bay..." Her steps stopped. She hadn't realized he'd stayed long enough to see her dodge 15 simultaneous drone strikes. She had pushed herself too far, letting instinct override caution. Jalen lowered his voice. "You're hiding something. I'm not asking you to tell me everything. I just want to help." The sincerity in his tone scraped against the wall she'd built around herself. She shook her head. "Helping me is dangerous." "Why?" The answer remained locked in her chest. She walked on. Jalen followed only until she reached the medical wing door. "If you need someone to talk to," he said, "I'm here." She didn't turn around. "Thank you?" The words surprised her. They felt unfamiliar. Inside the medical bay, the antiseptic air buzzed with machinery. A technician approached, a young engineer with steady hands and soft eyes. "Cadet Ravel?" he asked. "I'll be scanning your implant. I won't access personal memory caches unless medically necessary." Astra sat on the scanning chair. "Let's begin." The machine lowered a halo of sensors around her skull. Blue rings pulsed softly. The technician frowned at the readout. "Your implant is heavily partitioned. It was installed under unusual conditions," she replied. He adjusted settings. "There's trace evidence of military-grade encryption." Astra remained silent. "And something else," he murmured. "The implant logged a foreign signal 2 hours ago. Origin unknown." Astra stiffened. "From inside the academy?" "No. External. But it was brief. Almost like someone pinged the implant, realized it was locked, and withdrew." She swallowed. Varkos hadn't just seen the recording, he had reached for her. The technician stepped back. "I'll send the report to Commander Hale. You should rest." Rest. The word felt meaningless. She slipped out of the bay and headed toward the observation deck, the only quiet place left. The deck's panoramic window revealed the void stretching endlessly around the station. Stars shone like cold lanterns across an ocean of darkness. Arcadia's forest silhouette glowed below, its blue clouds drifting peacefully. Astra pressed her palms to the glass. I can't let it happen again. Behind her, footsteps approached gently. Jalen's reflection appeared beside hers. You're not fine, he said softly. She didn't deny it. He stepped closer. Astra, did you know the soldier in that recording? Her throat tightened. She turned away from the window. I knew the operation. A beat. And the people who died in it. Jalen's eyes widened, but he didn't speak. He understood the weight of selective truth. Before he could ask more, the station's alarm snapped on. Intrusion alert. Perimeter breach detected. Red emergency lights bled through the corridor. Jalen cursed under his breath. Already? We're not due for drills today. Astra's heart steadied into soldier rhythm, the calm she hadn't felt in years. That's not a drill. She sprinted down the hall, Jalen right behind her. Security feeds flickered across wall displays, unidentified drones slipping through the outer defense grid, their movements too precise for random scouts. Dominion reconnaissance units. Varkos had arrived faster than expected. Astra reached the nearest weapons locker. Her hand hovered above the biometric panel but stopped. She wasn't supposed to take arms during an alert until cleared. But the academy was out of time. She pressed her palm to the reader. It flashed red. Authorization denied. Jalen glanced at her. What now? Astra's expression hardened. She had spent years pretending she wasn't the soldier in the recording. But the Dominion wasn't pretending. They're coming for someone, she said. And I know exactly who. The alarms intensified, echoing through the station. Astra closed her eyes for one steady breath. The past had found her. Now she had to decide whether to keep running or confront the war she survived. Red lights bled through the corridors as the station's alarm droned relentlessly. The outer hull shuddered, a low, insistent vibration that ran through the floors, walls, and Astra's bones. Dominion drones had breached the perimeter, moving faster than any training simulation, smarter than any cadet could anticipate. Cadet Ravel, report! A panicked voice crackled over the intercom. Astra ignored it. She sprinted down the corridor, boots thudding against the alloy floors, Jalen keeping pace. Around them, cadets stumbled in confusion, eyes wide, breaths shallow. At the main docking bay, a squad of drones had already landed. Their sleek, black bodies glinted under emergency lights. Each moved with a fluid, predatory grace, coordinating without communication. They're not here to negotiate, Jalen whispered. Astra didn't reply. Her pulse slowed as instinct sharpened every sense. Muscles memorized patterns long suppressed. She stepped forward and tapped her neural implant. A surge of synchronized data ran through her, trajectories, weak points, angles of attack. It was the rhythm she had buried deep, the same one that had destroyed Dominion shock teams in Operation Ashfall. The first drone lunged. Astra sidestepped in a single, fluid motion, sending the attacker sliding across the floor. A precise kick dismantled its targeting module. Cadets froze, eyes following her, mouths agape. Cadet, what? Jalen stammered. No time, she snapped. She grabbed a collapsible pulse baton from a nearby rack. In one sweeping motion, she disabled 2 drones, their energy circuits hissing before dying. Every strike was calculated, economical, decisive. The cadets began to follow her lead, though hesitantly. Astra shouted commands over comms. Block the eastern corridor. Use grav slings to funnel them. No single cadet engages alone. Her voice cut through panic like a blade. Officers at the central hub stared at the feed, mouths open, realizing the cadet they'd underestimated was directing the defense with uncanny precision. A third drone aimed plasma at a group of cadets attempting a retreat. Astra dove, catching the beam with the baton's energy shield, and redirected it into the drone's chassis. Sparks rained down, illuminating her focused face. The motion was instantaneous, lethal, and beautiful in its efficiency. One cadet gasped. "That's impossible. She's the soldier." Astra ignored the comment, scanning for the source. Dominion communications pulsed faintly in her neural implant. A voice echoed, synthetic and commanding. "Cadet Ravel. I have crossed the stars to end this. Surrender or all perish." Varkos. She felt his presence, not physically, but through the signal, a predator asserting dominance. Every instinct screamed familiarity. Every memory she'd buried rose in parallel with the threat. Jalen's hand touched her shoulder. "You don't have to do this alone." Her jaw tightened. "I never have." The fight escalated. Drones poured in from multiple access points, forming a wedge toward the Academy's control hub. Astra pivoted with supernatural fluidity, deflecting plasma, dismantling units, and coordinating cadets. She initiated a tactical maneuver she had learned in Ashfall, the spiral counterstrike. Cadets hesitated at first, uncertain of her command. Astra raised her baton and shouted, "Follow the spiral!" No hesitation. The cadets moved, forming concentric arcs around advancing drones. Astra's neural interface predicted their movements, adjusting timings to ensure minimal exposure. Energy blasts ricocheted harmlessly off shields. The Dominion formation faltered. One drone, larger and reinforced, surged toward Jalen. Astra intercepted, thrusting her baton straight into its core. The explosion threw her back, but she landed with cat-like precision, rolling into stance. "Cadets!" she barked. "Hold the perimeter!" The hub's main screen flickered. Dominion assault ships had entered orbit, scanning the station's structure. Varkos had arrived. From her implant, Astra felt a low, thrumming vibration, his signal, cold, disciplined, almost taunting. She clenched her teeth. The fight was no longer about cadets. It was about her. A massive drone crashed through the ceiling, scattering debris. Astra adjusted her stance mid-air, landing between two cadets. She raised the baton, synchronized with her neural implant's predictive calculations. A whip of blue energy struck the drone's junction box, sending it spinning into the wall. Cadets whispered among themselves, awe turning into determination. They began coordinating under her implicit command, improvising tactics she had embedded into the neural network during earlier drills. It wasn't just strength, it was human adaptability, unpredictability, resourcefulness. Varkos's voice cut through again, calm and deadly. "Human, you survived my elite. Today, the era ends." Her pulse quickened. The voice carried a threat and a challenge ancient as the stars she'd crossed during Ashfall. She felt the weight of history, the deaths, the missions erased, the isolation. "Not today," she muttered, almost to herself. Then louder, to the cadets. "Keep moving. Trust the rhythm. Don't stop for fear." The Dominion drones advanced in tighter formation. Astra leaped onto a control console, striking a chain of energy conduits. Sparks and smoke erupted, blinding the nearest attackers. She landed among cadets, issuing precise directions. "Left flank, cover the docking ramps. Center, hold the gravlift. South corridor, trap them." Her coordination was seamless. Cadets who had doubted her now mirrored her fluid motions, learning instantly as though she transmitted knowledge directly into the room. One cadet, barely 17, glanced at her, eyes wide. "Is she the soldier?" Jalen's jaw tightened. "Yes. And she just saved us all." Astra ignored the admiration, focused on the incoming waves. A massive shock drone surged toward the command hub. She calculated angles, velocity, cadet positions. With a swift pivot, she launched herself into the air, baton extended. A plasma strike ricocheted from the drone, but she caught it mid-flight, redirected it into the ceiling's support. The structure collapsed on the remaining units, clearing the way. The station shuddered violently. Dust and sparks rained down. Cadets scrambled, hearts hammering, yet adrenaline sharpened every movement. Astra's gaze scanned for Varkos's next move. He was patient. Always patient. waiting to strike decisively. But Astra had learned patience too. She had learned to anticipate, to endure, and to strike with calculated unpredictability. As the last drone fell, the station quieted, save for the hum of emergency power and the distant groans of stressed hull plating. Astra straightened, breathing steady. Cadets around her, adrenaline fading, stared at the girl who had carried them through impossible odds. Some nodded, some were silent, some shook. They had seen the truth. The soldier in the recording was real. And she was here. She looked out the panoramic window at Arcadius 4, calm blue and serene beneath the chaos. Dominion forces had arrived, but she wasn't afraid. Because the soldier the galaxy thought lost had returned. And the real fight was just beginning. The orbital platform hung over Arcadius 4 like a sliver of silver steel against the canvas of stars. Emergency lights flickered in the wake of the Dominion assault, casting long shadows across the debris-strewn deck. The air smelled of scorched metal and ozone, a tangible reminder that this would be no ordinary confrontation. Astra's boots echoed against the hull as she approached the center of the platform. The Dominion commander waited. Varkostre stood taller than any human should, his bioengineered limbs flexing with lethal precision. His mandible plates clicked softly in the silence, a cold, mechanical rhythm that matched the pulse Astra felt in her own neural implant. "You've grown stronger," he said, voice resonating directly in her mind. "But I've anticipated every move you will make." Astra's eyes narrowed. She didn't answer. Words were irrelevant. Actions would speak. Varkos lunged first, a blur of limbs and energy blades. Astra moved instinctively, every muscle coiling and releasing with the precision of a weapon. She sidestepped, dodging the first strike by millimeters, feeling the wind of his momentum. Her baton flared with energy, intercepting a second strike. Sparks showered across the deck. The first collision echoed like thunder in the hollow station. Astra countered, striking a weak joint in Varkos's exoskeleton, eliciting a hiss of steam. He staggered, recalibrating instantly. "You rely on instinct," he growled. "But instincts are predictable. You cannot outthink perfection. Humans adapt." She shot back. "And we fight with something you'll never understand." The words were more than a defiance. They were a declaration. Every cadet on the station, watching from the comm screens, would remember this moment. Varkos attacked again. Astra ducked under a sweeping blade, rolled, and sprang to a console, flipping it to redirect power through the deck. A surge of electricity crackled, striking his left arm. He hissed in frustration, but his eyes, mechanical and organic intertwined, gleamed with approval. "You are remarkable," he said. "But remarkable can be broken." The fight escalated. Energy beams scorched metal plates, sparks ignited floating debris, and the hum of power conduits became a symphony of chaos. Astra pivoted, striking a sequence of weak points she had memorized during Ashfall. Varkos anticipated some moves, deflected others, but every strike she landed left its mark. "You're not just human," he said, almost admiringly. "You're an anomaly." "I'm human enough to survive," she replied. His attacks became relentless, a fusion of calculated strikes and raw strength. Astra ducked, twisted, and launched herself toward a structural beam, swinging around it with centrifugal force, slamming her baton into his side. The impact reverberated through his limbs. He reeled. Astra felt the implant surge, a feedback of speed, reflexes, and tactical foresight. She could sense Varkos's pattern, predict his balance shifts, and manipulate the station's environment to her advantage. But he was relentless. With a violent push, he hurled her across the platform. She rolled to absorb the impact, ignoring the fire that raced along her ribs. She was human, yes, but she had survived worse. "You always were stubborn," he said, advancing. "It will be your undoing." Astra smiled grimly. "No. It's our strength." With a sudden, daring move, she leapt directly toward him, closing the distance in a fraction of a second. Varkos struck, expecting her to dodge, but she didn't. Her baton made contact with the armor joint on his chest. Sparks flew. She used the momentum to flip behind him, driving her knee into the back of his knee plate. He fell onto one knee, unbalanced. Astra's eyes glowed faintly from the implant's interface as she tapped into every bit of predictive calculation left. This was the human irrationality he could not anticipate, the split-second choice guided by instinct, emotion, and sheer audacity. "You underestimate humans," she said, voice low, resolute. Varkos struggled to rise. "Improbable," he muttered. "Impossible." Astra lunged again, bat and striking simultaneously with a sweeping kick. He collapsed fully, systems sparking, limbs uncoordinated. His mandibles flexed, releasing a harsh, mechanical hiss. "You cannot defeat." "Yes. We can," she interrupted, voice rising over the hum of alarms. "Because we adapt. We endure. And we refuse to die quietly." She delivered a final strike, her baton finding the core module embedded in his chest. Energy arcs surged outward, and with a final, metallic shriek, the Dominion commander slumped. His bioengineered enhancements powered down. Silence fell. Astra exhaled, steadying herself on the railing. The stars outside seemed impossibly distant, yet serene. Dominion ships, detecting the collapse of their command node, retreated from orbit. The siege was over. Cadets, officers, and instructors emerged from hiding, eyes wide, whispers spreading like wildfire. They had seen her true form, not the quiet, withdrawn student, but the soldier who had shattered a Dominion strike team alone. Jalen stepped forward, awe and relief in his gaze. You did it." Astra shook her head, exhaustion and resolve mixing. "We did it. Humanity always does, when we must." Commander Hale approached, voice steady but layered with disbelief. "Cadet Ravel, what you just did, you've changed everything. You've not only saved this academy, you've reminded humanity of its true potential." Astra looked at the floor, chest heaving. "I never wanted to be known. I trained to survive, not to lead." Hale's expression softened. "Perhaps it's time you did both. Others will need to know that strength isn't always loud, it's patient, hidden, and relentless when called." She turned to look at the cadets who had witnessed every moment. Young faces, full of awe and fear, but also inspiration. These were the ones who would carry the lessons forward. "And what about the Dominion?" Jalen asked. "They'll regroup," she said quietly. "But humans adapt. And next time, they'll face the whole truth." Her gaze returned to the blue planet below, Arcadius 4, calm beneath the chaos, as if it had waited centuries for this moment. She clenched her fists. Humanity had survived the Centauri front. Humanity had hidden its greatest strengths. And humanity would survive again. The Academy would rebuild, stronger, wiser. And Astra Ravel would train the next generation, openly this time, unbound by fear or secrecy. She exhaled, letting the adrenaline ebb. The ghost of Operation Ashfall had returned, not as a shadow, but as a guiding force. Varkosdri would no longer stalk humanity. But his attempt had revealed something far more important. When humans rose, even the most engineered foe could be undone by courage, ingenuity, and their refusal to yield. Astra stepped back from the railing, her uniform scorched but her spirit unbroken. She glanced at Jalen. "Time to show them what we're capable of." "All of us." He nodded. Around her, cadets straightened, officers looked on in renewed respect, and the station hummed with life once more. Humanity's hidden strength had emerged. And this time, the galaxy would see it.